Huge warm welcome to everybody this morning. Apologies if you saw that it was an 11 o'clock start this morning on some of our marketing. It is a 10 a.m. and you've all come on, so that's fantastic. You obviously haven't seen that small boo-boo, so apologies. Delighted to be joined by JPA Workspaces today and also Rothamsted Enterprises. I'm just going to just talk about the webinar about Workspaces of the Future. And then we're going to go over to Fiona and Nicole. If there are any questions that you have during the presentation, if I could ask if you could put that into the chat function, and then we will address those questions at the end, if that's okay with everybody. Thank you. So going on to Workspaces of the Future. This webinar will cover flexible workspace solutions and a fantastic example of sustainability at work. This is a great opportunity to rethink the way your organisation works, creating flexible spaces which unite technology and furniture to create more fluid and engaging places to work, wherever they may be. So I'm absolutely delighted to introduce Fiona Edwards, who unfortunately her camera isn't on, but she is here. You will hear her very soon. And Fiona is Head of Sustainability at JPA Workspaces, and she will be discussing key themes: safety, practicality and comfort, and also taking a closer look at hub, spoke, home models and their advantages. And after Fiona, we will then be heading towards Nicole Sad, CEO of Rothamsted Enterprises, who will reveal the refurbishment of the historic Russell building and their property in Harpenden. So absolutely delighted to pass over to Fiona.
Good morning, everyone. I'm so sorry, that complete technical nightmare this morning. My camera's gone, and this is sort of note to self. I need to get in touch with Steve Fox and get myself sorted out. So I am here truly, and this isn't a recording, and I'll throw in some ad libs just so that you know that I'm real, and this isn't one I prepared earlier. So, Workspaces of the Future. Well, it's just lovely to see you all. As you know, I'm Fiona from JPA, and I'd just quickly like to thank Alison for inviting Nicole and I to speak about Workspaces of the Future today. As workspace providers, I hope we can both provide you with some interesting insights and directions moving forwards. Well, what happened there then? In 2020, we all had a bit of a light bulb moment, I think, when it comes to work. I don't think that pandemics probably featured much in any of our disaster recovery plans up until that point, and I expect they probably do now moving forwards. COVID has certainly given us a lot to think about, plenty of challenges, plenty of headaches to say the least, but at last we seem to have a pathway, and we're back planning that pathway back to work. I think it's fair to say the pandemic's accelerated technology and the future of work by 5 to 10 years. We find ourselves with a great opportunity to pivot, replan and rethink the way our organisations work. And the big questions are what to change, how to change, and can we really afford not to change? We're not alone. There is no one fixed solution to all of this, and the fixes are different for all of us. The entire world is now asking us how we can work better. And the challenges that we all face vary from organisation to organisation, across industries, across location, across the condition of the local pandemic status, across culture. The future is still fluid, and COVID is still here and possibly here for many years to come in some form or another. So there's no one fixed solution, but there are themes. The good news is that change will come across areas that we're already familiar with as business owners and managers. We're just looking at these things now potentially from a slightly different perspective. So staff expectations, productivity, well-being, space, technology, flexibility, people, and sustainability and social responsibility will also all be figuring in our workspaces of the future. In terms of our staff expectations, what do we think they're going to expect when on the return to work? And I think it's fair to say that safety first is just the big consideration for all workspaces. So a welcoming, confident, phased return and an easing back to work. Reduced uncertainty, predictability, safe workspaces, planned occupancy rates, all of this, seating plans, testing, tracing, they're expecting to come back and be safe and feel safe, possibly more say in how and where they work, and a more collaborative approach, a substantially better work experience than before the pandemic, pathways to improve work-life balance, and exploration of possibilities for flexible working, and above all, I think change. We're not really expecting to return to what was. We're expecting change for the future. With regard to productivity, this is also a great opportunity to refocus on productivity and the conditions our staff need to be productive, which is something every business owner is interested in. And these basic physical conditions include creation of perceived safe environments, the right equipment for the job, adequate light, ventilation and warmth, access to power, good Wi-Fi, inclusion of natural beauty or access to nature. And this can be as simple as something like a pot plant or seeing some greenery out of your window. We're not saying all bells and whistles here. The ability to adjust or change the working environment for prolonged comfort and therefore capacity to keep doing the activity, and also inclusivity and access wherever our teams are working. So the workspaces of the future I consider to be based on these themes, not on specifics of furniture, but the themes we need to achieve. And I think it's fair to say that if you're just not comfortable at work, you're not going to be productive. Well-being, setting the physical conditions for well-being. If our teams feel safe, they have the right environment and the right equipment to successfully complete their work, they're comfortable, feel valued, then they'll be able to perform, they'll be able to be productive, and they'll enjoy the workplace experience, which will all contribute to their well-being. And why is that important? Well, it's important to recognise that the coronavirus has had a huge impact on our mental health. The good mental health and well-being of our teams is influenced by the environments that we create for them, and flourishing employees will directly relate to company performance. So if our employees and staff are well, we've set the right environments, they will flourish, our businesses in turn will flourish. And I've just popped this definition up there from the World Health Organization of good mental health, which is defined as a state of well-being where individuals realize their own potential, can cope with normal stresses of life, work productively and fruitfully, and make a contribution to the community. And so the workspaces of the future are about bringing several of these themes together. If it's good for our people, it's good for our business. In terms of our space, ideas which may have seemed idealistic 12 months ago, certainly to my boss, who's horrified at the idea of home working, quite honestly, they're becoming a reality. Home working and flexible working are absolutely here to stay. And things are still fluid. I was chatting to Nicole yesterday. 14 months ago, when we were all working at home, it seemed great for the first 2 months. You know, the sun was shining, we were all out in the park. Now, after 14 months, maybe more of us would like to come back to the office. Things are fluid. And with many of us wanting flexible work conditions and a bit more work-life balance, that's going to give our bosses and business owners an awful lot to think about. So the questions are who does what where, and can we manage our most expensive resources better, our people and our space? This is just a list of some of the questions that we'll need to be asking, and the outcomes and timescales will vary for all of us. There is no one fixed solution or one hit wonder. All of us will have different outcomes. And these things are really worth looking at. And in particular, again, I refer back to what Nicole's doing at Rothamsted with the facilities and the range of workspaces they're offering on site, which is now giving businesses the chance to redesign and reinvent their workplace strategies, to see what works, to see what doesn't work, and to take their people forwards with them in the with their businesses, business development, and also planning for business growth. And I'm sure Nicole's got a whole load about that she's going to be speaking to you about later. Even Luddites like me, and trust me, I am a prime Luddite, have recognised the opportunity and the need to upgrade our technology to make sure our businesses are more flexible, resilient, efficient, and less space dependent. The benefits of upgrading technology will include the ability to work anywhere, multi-device access, better collaboration, freed up office space, improved disaster recovery, and a host of other benefits in this list. There's a lot to take in when it comes to technology. And I noticed our friend Steve Fox is out there from Fresh Dance, and he's always happy to talk about that kind of stuff. So do feel free to give him a little tap on the shoulder. In regards to our furniture and floor spaces, what we're seeing is increased demand for more flexible leases and spaces from both landlords and tenants. We're seeing increased demand for furniture that's flexible and that can be reconfigured to meet a variety of needs and maximising any investments made. And we're seeing increased consolidation and combination of IT and furniture. So we're seeing media hubs, in-surface power, Teams telephony, rechargeable power modules, desk booking systems such as IRAT or Chargeify, and increases in cloud-based systems and e-commerce. Now, I can only apologise for this slide. It was a bit of a moment, but everyone in the room will recognise at least one of these trends, and they may not be relevant to everybody, and they may not even be needed by every organisation. And all I would say is, when reviewing spaces for return to work, simply start with safety, communicating processes with your staff and change, and involving them in the return to work process. It may be that reconfiguring your office space is all you need to do to enable social distancing. It may be you decide that you want to create new collaborative spaces with some space that you freed up. Or it may be you decide you don't even need any extra space and you're going to downsize. It's all completely up to you. Furniture, as I'm a furniture specialist, is the enabler for all of our workspaces, and specifically now for creating safer environments and perceived safe environments by our staff for return to work. We won't all reach the same levels of readiness at the same time. Freestanding screens and partitions can help to divide space, create new working areas, or simply boost confidence. And once again, portable options mean easy deployment and redeployment and maximize your investment. There are lots of creative ways to divide space or create new spaces where staff can feel safe. Acoustic partitions and solutions come in all shapes and sizes, and will also contribute to reducing noise and echoes, which prevent more focused work. Noise is a big distraction in many offices. And they can just simply add a splash of colour or some creativity, or reinforce your company branding. You know, multi-purpose items to maximise your investments. There are lots of ways to create individual touchdown spaces, and I do feel that simply investing maybe in one or two key areas can make a difference to how our staff feel and the extent to which they feel valued and included. With offices becoming destination venues for meaningful collaboration, we may also need to create more acoustically sound environments, especially for those Teams meetings, which seem to get louder and louder, and we talk way louder than we normally would in real life. We don't want the sound to leak in, and we definitely don't want the sound leaking out. And power is one of the easiest ways to create extra workspace, and most of these units can be easily retrofitted to existing furniture, enabling you to keep costs down and staff to do the tasks they need to do. We've really missed our people. I mean, really missed our people, and we've recognised they're our biggest asset. So it's worth taking the time to communicate change to them, restore their confidence, and help them enjoy their work experiences. These will all have an impact on productivity and well-being. And I would state again that flourishing employees directly relate to company performance. And the picture that you see there is part of the newly refurbished Russell building at Rothamsted. And you can see there the individual safety screens with the honeycomb renders on, making safety fun and interesting and not too sterile. Meeting the unique requirements of your teams will have many benefits and is a worthwhile investment. I would think about refurbishing workplaces and upgrading workplaces in terms of an investment for your business. And I won't read the list, but once again, I would restate that flourishing employees directly relate to company performance. And there is that niggling little stat there, about 48% of people state that their workplace design has a notable impact on whether they stay or go. I think that's harsh, but we're in the real world. It's really harsh, I find that. And finally, sustainability. I think it's time to rethink more about the impact of our businesses and what and how we buy and who we buy it from. Our collaboration with Rothamsted has been mutually beneficial and a really fantastic example of the Keeping Hearts in Hertfordshire campaign by the Chamber. And these are some of the things that we could be thinking of more: reducing waste, carbon miles, developing better local partnerships, buying from the local economy, buying better. I think this is the chance to revisit how and where we buy. So in summary, I'm aware I'm rambling. We're planning for the future, not just the immediate return, it's long term. The situation's still fluid and we need to be better prepared and able to cope. We don't know what's ahead. We know we need to create the right conditions for our people to ensure they flourish, engage and thrive. We need to revisit our spaces to ensure they're activity-based, practical and comfortable so our staff can perform. If they're performing, they'll be productive and they'll enjoy the workplace experience. And the challenge is making our spaces a compelling place to work with the best technology and the best environment. And if you are thinking of invest, please don't forget that marvellous government capital deduction scheme that's just come out. They launched in the budget, and I popped a link there for you. And finally, I'd just like to thank you for your time. And apologies you can't see me, but that's probably good for you. And I'd like to pass you on now to Nicole, who will tell you more about all the exciting developments at Rothamsted.
Thank you very much. We're working our technology out now, Fiona.
Yeah. There we go.
Let's share my screen for you all.
All back.
There you go. Can you see the Rothamsted presentation? There you go. Okay. So good morning, everyone, and thank you very much for inviting me here today. Delighted to be able to showcase the Russell building. But before that, I thought I'd just give some context because we started this refurbishment before the pandemic and our key themes are fairly similar. So Rothamsted campus is an 800-acre estate in the centre of Harpenden. So it's a little screenshot there because if you drive into Harpenden, you don't sometimes know that we exist. Our campus is made up of lab space, office space, the restaurant, the Rothamsted Conference Centre, and the whole purpose of Rothamsted Enterprises. We were set up in 2015 to start bringing local businesses on site to work with Rothamsted research. You might ask why we did that. Because actually, Rothamsted Enterprises, we are there to promote and facilitate collaboration. So whilst our Rothamsted scientists look detailed at food sustainability, climate change and research into making sure that we have healthy, nutritious meals, actually sometimes to drive innovation, you need businesses and technology on site to really start those sparky conversations. All of our profits at Rothamsted Enterprises go back into funding the research into food sustainability. So sustainability is really at the heart of really what we do. And obviously, we look at more recently tackling climate change. So those long, hot summers don't help the crops. How do we make sure that our wheat is nutrition, high nutrition value? So our scientists have been going for 175 years, looking at insects, how we can improve our farming to make it not the problem with climate change, but maybe to tackle climate change. So Rothamsted Enterprises really is, I suppose, the commercial arm. So our site itself had a lot of activity going on, but we really missed that central piece. So we had a Russell building, or the Russell building, this beautiful building in the front that was actually empty for the last 5 years. And as we grew and developed, the labs and office space on site, in 2018 when I joined, we had 11 tenants, And then we now have about 26. We started a project called Shape Climate Change, which was all about attracting new tenants and businesses on site to tackle climate change. And what that did is drove more spin outs to site. But what we really missed on campus was that exciting hub where people, innovators could come together, could share ideas, could network, maybe practice some pitching to investors. So we had this beautiful, iconic building that was empty. So as part of the Hearts IQ scheme, so the Hearts Innovation Quarter, we looked at securing some funding from them and the LEP. Now, Hearts IQ and the LEP clearly want to attract new jobs to Hertfordshire, keeping our skills in Hertfordshire. And we were able to secure 1.7 million to help us refurbish this building, which we're very grateful for. As a result, we are aiming to create 118 jobs, and we have to provide 50 businesses with support, events, networking, all those side of things. But actually, the Russell building for us was more than that. What we had designed on site was a lot of lab space and office space for scientists. And what you need to develop a thriving ecosystem is some people that maybe think outside the box. So it could be financial support to help the innovators secure investment. It could be tech wizards that are looking at new technologies to bring into farming. So this Russell building wasn't just to support the nucleus of what we do. It's a little bit broader than that, which really allowed us to have some fun and games with the decoration and the design of this. So, like I said, the funding was secured with the Hearts Local Enterprise Partnership, Innovation Quarter, and then we've got this collaboration working now over the next 5 years. So again, just, it's really enhancing our ecosystem, making us a little bit broader and also attractive to the local market. One thing we do find at Rothamsted in the agri-tech sector that we're operating in is the speed our companies grow. They might be a one-man band, two-man band in year 1, but by year 5, they're 5 to 10. And actually the Russell building not only helps the entrepreneurs and the startup and the one-man bands, it also has bigger office space that actually can allow our companies and on-site tenants to grow and develop their business. And that's where we step in and support their growth plans. So the wonderful, iconic Russell building, let's see if this works, as I've got a little video to show you, just to give you a taster and a glimpse of what's inside. We haven't been able to do many show rounds at the moment because of the pandemic, so you're one of the first people, hopefully, to see. And hopefully you can see the difference that we've got. Let's see if this works. So that gives you a little bit of an example of what Fiona was talking about. So there's downstairs, we have individual office spaces, but the nice thing with this building, there's a lot of high ceilings, but also fresh air, open windows. And going back to feeling safe at work, obviously we designed this without a COVID pandemic, before we got to the design stage, but quickly could adapt working with JPA, looking at our furniture, looking at those screens in the hot desk environment. Obviously, as a business, we've had to be COVID secure, but obviously the cleaning that we've now implemented in place, and what we've done, we've removed things off desks, so there's not a lot of transmission, there's not papers left everywhere, so we're very, very much green in that sustainability piece. We've also put a lot of plants, I don't know whether you can see around, but it's very green. Obviously, going back to the health and well-being point that Fiona was making that environment really enjoyable so people want to come to work, want to come back into the office. The kitchen areas are large and spacious and obviously cleaned deeply every night, every day, every morning. And the nice thing with our campus, and I'll go on to this slightly slightly later, is you don't need public transport to get there. So we've seen that as a real benefit. We've got a very large conference centre, a lot of open space, car parking on site, and very large meeting rooms in the conference centre. So where we were concerned maybe beforehand we wouldn't be the choice place to go and set up your business, actually this has enabled us to maybe attract companies that wouldn't have looked at office space out of London previously. So I just thought I'd share with the audience today of where we are. We took the keys in November. So one thing we were really proud of, building was allowed to continue through the pandemic. We refurbished this whole building during the pandemic, which was quite challenging, good fun, a little bit tiring at times as well. But we've actually got 6 permanent tenant companies joined since January. We've got 2 more joining in the summer. Now, due to the COVID pandemic, we were not permitted to open the shared collaboration area, but from the 17th of May, we are allowed to do that, and we've got a strong pipeline. We've seen a number of inquiries really increase since February. So once the lockdown roadmap was reopened, I suppose, or announced, we've definitely seen a real enthusiasm, I think, that I didn't see last year. We thought everyone was going to be definitely continuing working from home, like Fiona says, but I think as this was progressed, I'm not seeing that now. I feel the energy and the excitement to get back. I think also it's different for different sectors. So where technology companies or IT support or some different sectors will be permitted to work from home and could do that quite easily. What we're really missing is that water cooler moments. Innovation doesn't generally happen in a Teams call because your agenda and you move on so quickly. We're missing that innovation and those natural collaborations, those natural conversations. So we're definitely seeing people quite keen to get back. So again, just hinting on the organisations out of town, the open spaces, the on-site cafe. Actually, we've had takeaway service going throughout. That's gone down very well. And we've bought some new, well, we're going to buy some new pods so people can enjoy the outdoor dining. So when people come back, pop in for the coffee and just sit outside, get that fresh air, and then walk into the town if they need to. So I think going back to the campus environment, we're getting more people on site, but it really feels like you're part of a community. What we don't want to have is people just sitting in an office and never coming down and working with it. So that's our picture at the moment, just to give the audience a bit of context of what we're seeing. And actually, where Fiona's saying that there's key themes, I think we're seeing it in reality as well. So again, sustainability, clearly working with the world's leading scientists on food sustainability, it's got to be at the core of what we do. So when we were choosing suppliers to look at the Russell building, we were really keen to make sure that ethos was spread through the refurbishment side of things. So obviously working with JPA as the chamber patron, we're really keen on their carbon neutral. I think was one of the first, I don't know if Fiona will be able to jump in, but one of the first things for Hearts, and I had never heard of a supplier that's totally carbon neutral. So that was a key win for us, definitely. And actually, I don't know whether you've seen some of the LinkedIn profiles. We're working with JPA again on our manor refurbishment. So we're shortly due to be launching our Grade 1 listed manor. And we're looking at recycled, upcycled, pre-loved furniture because it just works so well with our ethos and what we're doing. So going back to safety and environment, we're a COVID secure venue. What we did at Rothamsted Enterprises, a bit like Fiona said, we consulted with the staff. We looked at risk assessments. We've got one-way systems, but we did buy everyone Perspex screen desks. Clearly, we've got a new Russell building that's empty, so we could all spread out, socially distance. But actually, it was really important to listen to how the staff feel. We're on a rota basis at the moment, but the engagement and productivity and the well-being of staff since we've all been back in since 29th of March has just increased. Those brief conversations, you're not waiting for someone to email back again. It's going really well. And the energy, the staff morale, the passion for what we do is almost tangible. You can feel it. So it's a real delight to be back. But I take it on board. We're a lucky campus. We're a big site. So obviously one of the heating and cooling can always be a challenge in old buildings. but we have a smart heating system. So ideal for the comfortable environment, or we can just open windows like the old-fashioned way. So that was our well-being and sustainability. And obviously when we promote that Russell building to our tenants, for car parking's on site, they're welcome to use the conference centre and the restaurant. So you've got a lot of space on site with not that many people on campus. So just touching again, obviously the high ceilings, the natural light for our vitamin D that the government said we all need. I'm getting mine today, if you can see the sunshine. The conversations and the breaks from screen. We do also have a walking trail now on site. So that's available to anyone that comes on campus, but it's a lovely scientific walking trail that, we encourage people to take their lunch breaks and have a walk around the site and watch that, the lab space that we've got going on site. So the logo, the plants, that natural work environment hopefully leads to a really pleasant place to be and a pleasant place to work. So again, going back to sustainability, some of the furniture, we have repurposed existing furniture because obviously we're aiming to reduce landfill. And then what we have seen as well is not everyone will work a full day. Some people want to reduce the amount of people that are all coming into the office at 9 o'clock to 5 o'clock. Actually, we're looking at changing some of our shift patterns, especially in the conference centre where we might have staggered start times for different big meetings and events. But we've already seen this in the Russell building. So we've been a little bit more fluid. We all know that things may change, but we're trying to be as flexible and fluid with the market. So short and sweet, but I think that just summarises what hopefully we're seeing at Rothamsted and linking in some of Fiona's themes of what she might think is coming up. Thank you.
That's great. Thank you
All
both.
right, well, look, I'll catch up with you later on anyway. Okay.
Oh, thank you both. Oh, don't know where that came from. Thank you. It was talking over me then. Thank you so much to both of you for those fantastic presentations. And it's really interesting to see what big changes are ahead and how we are all adapting. So thank you both very much. I know there has been a couple of questions or a few questions in the chat box, and Fiona has responded to a couple, but I think the first one we had was from Matthew Smith. Matt, did you want to ask your question or would you like me to read it out for you? Oh, you're on mute, Matt. Is that
I'm happy for you to read it out, no problem.
Happy for me? Okay, no problem. So Matt asked here, do you feel the maintenance for new and existing air conditioning and ventilation systems to become more key for offices? And do you feel this would increase staff's perceived safety, well-being and improve indoor air quality? Happy for either of you to answer that one or both.
I mean, I can give it, I think yes. I think we need to clean everything a little bit. We put some HEPA filters in some of the smaller offices as well. Ready for staff safety to come back. You've got to be really careful. Out the size of buildings we're talking about, you need quite a lot of HEPA filters to clean the air. So actually some of the conference centre and the restaurant, actually we've got so much open door space, it's just better to have some of the open doors and limit the capacities that we've got at the moment. But I think, we have planned preventative maintenance going throughout all of our buildings. Actually, as you can imagine, with all the labs and the high-tech spec we have on site. So maintenance is a priority, cleaning is a priority because of the nature of what we do in the labs as well.
And also just jumping in there, I think, good air quality is a prerequisite for productivity, well-being, high performance. And so it's both a safety prerequisite to build confidence to get our staff back, because although we're all quite cocky about it, we're on a roadmap to get back. We still don't know what's ahead. We know there'll be a peak. We don't know of how much the vaccines are going to work, how long they're going to last. There's still a lot of unknowns. So we've got the safety aspect there, which is really important, and then also the productivity aspect. So I think it's a really good question. I'd really like to find out more about that because it's not an area of my strength. But it's one of the key features. Although having said that, for smaller businesses and little offices, this may be as simple as just opening a window. There are scales here. We're all trying to address these questions from our own business size of organisation.
Thank you. And anyone else got any questions that haven't put it into the chat, but do have a question? Because I know Fiona has answered some of those questions already in there.
just going to add to Fiona's sort of or answer that question a little bit. I mean, a lot of the air conditioning companies, the top brands like Panasonic and Mitsubishi Electric and Daikin are offering solutions to that now, where Panasonic, for example, have got a Nano-X technology system which actually can inhibit the growth of COVID, SARS virus and that sort of thing, as well as many other bacteria and odours in the workplace as well. So if Fiona's interested, I'll pop some information across to her from a couple of the manufacturers we deal with at the moment that could certainly assist with that for you.
Yeah, that would be brilliant. I mean, it's certainly safe to say that manufacturers, as a rule, haven't been slow to introduce the anti-COVID and the COVID dealing mechanisms. So they now appear on fabrics and hard surfaces and sprays and whatnot. And so that's really good to hear, and it's something that staff, I think, worry about, because the perception of air conditioning is that it spreads it, it circulates the COVID bug all around the building. And so yeah, that information would be very useful, and I think possibly there's a little bit of education there with our staff and communication on the benefits of the air conditioning systems, as opposed to, because they might see them as spreaders.
No, certainly. It's just like I said, the natural ventilation and mechanical ventilation are going to be key on that as well, aren't they? So yeah, they can do. But certainly I'll pop some information across to you, Fiona.
Yeah, that'd be brilliant. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I have been asked a question for each of you, actually, Fiona and Nicole. What has been the biggest challenge for you since lockdown and change to your business?
I can go first. I've had a multi-million pound conference centre closed for a good part of a year. I think, what's the biggest challenge? Keeping, I don't know, we've had quite a few. Because we deal with such a multitude of different businesses on site, some of our challenges have been a bit odd. Managing a project remotely of a refurb, that was a bit challenging, but also a bit good, fun. Despite the team, the Rothamsted team, if you know any of them, we're all fairly innovative. We try and keep that positive outlook, keep going. But despite all of that, keeping the morale up when the cash isn't coming in was tough. That's really tough, because we could, run food drop boxes for local charities. We could, we were doing deliveries for the local, when you couldn't get flour, we were, selling like a supermarket. We've been innovative and moved the pop-up cafe so people could still do takeaways. And, financially, we're a commercial business. So despite all of those wonderful ideas, it was financially challenging. But also, the government guidelines not having the details soon enough so we can be proactive and get out there and get our business back was a bit challenging. At the same time, we've seen this pandemic as a huge opportunity. We've looked, we've had some real in-depth conversations about our culture. We have started, as a positive, we're most probably one of the only companies that are going in with 3 venues to a pandemic, and we're coming out with not only the Russell building, but a grade 1 listed wedding venue that's going to be launched. So we've taken this opportunity to review our processes, some of our team's job roles, how we're going to be proactive when we come out. So it has been challenging, but I would like to say that we've also had as much fun as you can in a pandemic, and as much passion and as much innovation. And we're going to come out fitter and stronger to the other side.
Fantastic. Thank you, Nicole. And Fiona?
Well, similar really. Pre-pandemic, I would say the lion's share of our building was in commercial offices in central London. So that went down like a lead balloon, when they literally all disappeared pretty much overnight in the middle of March 2020. But we took the decision as directors to remain open because we had vehicles and manpower and warehousing that could assist the NHS. And so we made the decision that we sort of really donate those to the NHS as part of our family business contribution. It's what our dad would have wanted. He was a huge NHS supporter. And the big fear for us was that our staff were volunteering every day to go into the highest risk areas that you'd see on the TV, to move furniture, rearrange things. And we were absolutely petrified for them and their families. I mean, it was horrendous. They were doing this amazing work, but at the same time, every day I dread when they came back that, that they'd be okay. The NHS, once the vaccinations became available, they made sure our fitters were up there with some of the first on the list so that they could continue that work. So that was both terrifying, rewarding, but massively terrifying. I have to say that the cycles of lockdown, no lockdown, lockdown, no lockdown have been really challenging, because every time we've built up a business pipeline, then it's gone again because, oh no, we're being locked down. So our business has like Nicole, it's sort of, we've lost the business, we can't make those days up, but hopefully now it's building with a way out, and but we're not seeing it fall off the cliff yet. Everybody is planning. There's still a massive amount of uncertainty because there's so much to do. There's business owners have got so much to think about and so many bases to try and cover. Everybody's trying to plan and trying to cost. So we're seeing this sort of massive build in momentum, which is likely to, I would think, come to fruition sometime in the summer, if should everything go well, balanced against an ongoing uncertainty for the future. But I think, like Nicole says, it's really brought about this realization how much we all love each other. We just want to get together. We just want to interact. We want to get rid of the isolation. And I think moving forwards, the challenge is just to harness that. It's brought our teams closer together, as with Nicole's. And I've been out, I was out and about during the pandemic with my mask on, doing various site surveys and things, and sort of almost self-isolating when I came back because I was so scared. So it's been a really odd time. This is a once in a lifetime event, hopefully. And if anything, I would hope that we come out better. What a wasted opportunity to have gone through all this pain and loss of life and not come out as better people, better businesses, really making the most of what we have and valuing the fact that we're all relatively healthy. We can all put roofs over our heads. We've all got enough to eat, and we should just, use that with our businesses to do good and to grow. And so, yeah, massively challenging year from hero to zero. All of our business died last March, but we're building back and hoping to go for great guns this summer.
Great, thank you. And Fiona, sorry, Helen, I think you did have your hand up before, sorry I missed that. But Helen does have a question for you, Fiona. Can you suggest any low-cost ways to improve office space? So as a county-wide charity, they don't have the funds available to refurbish, and so an office is a bit dated as well. Do you think hot desking will become a thing of the past due to COVID? And I know we've got a couple of minutes, and I'm sure Fiona will take that offline, Helen, as well. But if you could just answer, Fiona, that'd be fantastic.
Goodness. Well, it depends how much space you've got. How many people you're planning to get back. It might be that you can get away with reconfiguring by just sort of phasing return to work and sort of staggering people coming back so they feel safe. You can create space by basically having a reduced occupancy. That's the easiest and cheapest way of doing things. We are working with manufacturers to rehome examples and demonstration items to sort of local charities. So if you do have a list of things you're looking for, let me know. And I'm hoping to do a huge building clearance next week or the week after, and with the view that anything that's still fit for task could go back into local organisations. I think it's very much dependent on individual spaces and what you have. So that, and if you want to send me room plans, I'm happy to have a look at them and see if we can suggest anything. It's our primary mission is we're here to help. Anyone can call us with some advice, and I will gladly give them any piece of advice that we possibly can to help them save money, not spend any money. It's almost like an anti-furniture campaign. Although I'm in the furniture business, we just want to help people and encourage them not to buy stuff if they don't need new furniture, and do better with what they have. So do give me a call, and I'll be delighted to carry that on with you.
That's fantastic.
Very much, thank you.
Thank you. And we will share the presentations from today afterwards, and also I'm sure Fiona and Nicole will be happy to take more questions offline. I'm just conscious it's 10:45 and Alison will be looking at me soon, as we need to keep within our time frame. So thank you both again very much for today. That's been a real insight, very interesting, and thank you for everybody that's come on. Just a couple of events coming up in the next few weeks, just to pencil in your diary. We have the Queen's Award, the Enterprise launch on the 11th of May. So please do pencil that in your diary. The Queen's Awards fantastic, very prestigious, and we do have lots of businesses in Hertfordshire that are well within their rights to have a Queen's Award but don't know enough about it, so please do come on and find out more. We also have our virtual networking with the neighbours Beds Chamber on the 12th of May. Very popular event. It's great to meet not only Herts Chamber members but also Beds as well. There's normally around 50 to 80 that come onto that event, so please do book yourself onto that one. And then the very last of the EU transition is on the 25th of May with questions and answers. That will be with the Herts Growth Hub and also our very own John, export advisor. So there'll be lots of Q&As about any questions you have with the EU transition. So thank you very much. I've gone 2 minutes over, but delightful to see you all and look forward to seeing you again soon. Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.